So we'll just give folks one more minute to join in, and then we'll jump in and get started. Okay, I see a few more people are logging in. And if you're just joining us now, just as a quick reminder, this webinar will last about an hour. We will have time for questions at the end. And if you're not talking at the moment, it'd be great if you could mute your line. It'll help cut down on the background noise, especially if you're using audio speakers and an open microphone on your computer. Create some feedback. So if you could take care of that, if you're on your phone, if you could mute your line, that will really help greatly in cutting down the background noise on the recording and making sure everyone can hear everything clearly. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Hope everything's going well as we gear up for the weekend. We have our the 2015 TESOL Advocacy and Policy Summit will be just a few weeks away. And I know we actually have our highest turnout so far for this event. It's about its 10th year. We are expecting over 80 people at this point. We may actually hit 90, which will be exciting. And I know there are some familiar faces as well as a lot of new faces, and it'll be a great experience for everybody. My name is John Sagoda. I'm the Associate Executive Director for Public Policy and Professional Relations here at TESOL International Association. And joining us joining me today is Ellen Fern, who's the Managing Director of Washington Partners. Ellen, you're on the line?
Yes, I'm right here. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Great. Oh, someone's in their car. So it sounds like someone's in their car. I hope you're driving safely. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and walk through what we have today in the webinar. As I've mentioned several times, if you could please mute your phones or microphones if you're not asking any questions, that really helps in cutting down the background noise and any feedback. We will have time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, but if you are joining us online, you should have on your menu a little chat box, so you can post questions at any time in the chat box on the side of your screen, and we can respond to those. And this webinar will be recorded, and we'll post the link online in the TESOL community so you can go back and watch it later or share it with your friends. And there will be a follow-up webinar held in about 2 weeks for those who aren't able to join us today. And here's what we'll just walk through this afternoon. We have sent out some information in advance, so hopefully everyone has received that. But we will give you a brief overview of what to expect on the webinar. We'll talk a little bit about advocacy. I know there's some experienced advocates joining us this year, but maybe some of you are new to advocacy, so we'll walk through a little bit of that. And then we're going to talk a lot about sort of logistics and what to expect with going to Capitol Hill and meeting with your legislators. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the main purpose of your visits will be, the logistics of how to schedule a meeting, what to expect, some do's and don'ts, some hints and tips, and then we'll leave some time for questions at the end. So briefly on the agenda, there's a preliminary agenda posted online, which you probably have already seen. This is a little bit more detail. We're in the process of just confirming with all our speakers, and once that's set, we'll give you a more detailed agenda by email. The summit will start on Sunday, June 21st. Registration will open at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And we'll have a welcome and orientations for about the first hour. And then we'll have a panel discussion. We're having several speakers coming from some private legal advocates, as well as a representative from the Office for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Education, to walk through and give an overview about civil rights for English learners and immigrant students in the United States. Some of you may know the Office for Civil Rights, in cooperation with the U.S. Department of Education, recently released a broad policy document that really outlined the rights of students in schools. And so it's a great resource for those in the field working with English learners, and they're going to help walk us through it and provide a lot of information on that front. Sunday evening, we'll close with a reception for all participants. And then we'll begin in earnest on Monday. It'll be quite a full day, so I hope everyone will get enough sleep the night before. We're going to start early in the morning at 8 a.m. and Monday morning we'll start off with a legislative update and then have a series of speakers and breakout sessions, which I'll touch on in a moment. And we're going to have an open time at lunch for networking. Some of the feedback we've received from last year was that there was so much information packed into the panel, into the program, that people didn't have as much time as they would have liked to network and take breaks between sessions and meet their colleagues. So we really appreciated that feedback, so we've really built that into this year's program. And so we're planning a structured networking lunch to really allow people to talk and share information, ideas, what they're doing in their districts, and have focused tabletop discussions. So that's a new feature for this year. In terms of the topics that will be addressed on Monday morning, on the 22nd of June, Dr. Libby Gill, who is the Assistant Deputy Secretary and Director of the Office of English Language Acquisition, will be joining us. Sorry to interrupt, but if there's someone on your phone, if you could mute your line, there's some background noise coming in that it would be helpful if you could mute your line. Thank you. Dr. Gill has confirmed she will be speaking to us and providing an update from her office, and she will be a keynote Monday morning. We'll have a series of breakout sessions that morning from different offices at the Department of Education, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. So for those of you who may work in adult education or work with international students at university, we'll have some breakout topics and speakers focusing on those policy areas. And we also have some speakers from the American Federation for Teachers and the National Education Association to walk through some of the issues they're focusing on in terms of English learners, the Common Core for English learners, and advocacy. After lunch, we'll have Dr. Diane Stair-Fenner talk about teacher advocacy for English learners. Some of you may have seen Diane at a number of TESOL events over the years. If you don't already know this, she authored a book on teacher advocacy for English learners. And thanks to the support of Corwin Press, every participant this year will get a free copy of her book. So I think that'll be a great resource for everyone who participates at the summit this year. And then Monday afternoon, we'll focus on advocacy training, looking at grassroots advocacy and focusing really on preparation for your Capitol Hill visits, which will occur on the next day, on TESOL Advocacy Day. And we're going to walk through some of the logistics on ADVOC on Tuesday, June 23rd, in just a few moments. But we do close out the summit with a closing dinner and debrief. And we definitely encourage you to come to the dinner if you can. I think it's a great way to close out the experience, to share information, and to kind of hear from each other what you heard when you went to Capitol Hill, what you heard from your members of Congress, and what you experienced during your day. So that's a very brief overview of the summit and what to expect on the agenda for this year. And we're going to move into a little bit about talking about advocacy and tips to prepare for the summit. Here we go. This program is a little unique from other events that TESOL International Association holds because we really ask you to do some homework in advance and to come to the program having done some reading, making your appointments with members of Congress, and walking through some of the information we'll be sending to you over the next 2 weeks. In terms of making appointments with members of Congress, you're going to probably want to start that process as soon as possible, and it'll take some time in many cases to confirm those appointments, and we will walk through those logistics in just a few moments. We're in the process of putting together some background briefs on some of the policy issues we'll be discussing, and we'll send that to you in advance. So you'll have an opportunity to read on some of the information and know what some of our speakers are talking about. So we really encourage you to take some time to review those before the event, maybe read them on the plane on the way in, because that'll give you a nice overview of some of the details in terms of specific pieces of legislation, some of the history of some of the issues, and what's happening at the moment with some of these policy issues. Also, and especially in preparation for your meetings with members of Congress, doing some additional research on the members of Congress you'll be meeting with, their background, as well as what is happening in your school district, in your institution, in your community around English learners and education policy issues. That's a really key point in terms of coming to your meetings fully prepared. A lot of times members of Congress really want to know about how these issues are impacting folks in their district. So coming to those meetings with some of the details like how many English learners are in your school or in your district, how they've done recently on tests, how they're doing academically, the number, if you're working with a TESOL affiliate, how many members do you have? How many members are throughout your state? Do you have a sense of perhaps what are the issues your colleagues are facing in terms of English learners? All that will really help inform you, inform your meetings, and really make for a richer experience at the summit. And we really encourage you to network with your peers who are attending this event, not only during the event itself, but in advance as much as possible. We have set up a specific home on the online TESOL community that we can post information and people can share information. We have set up a few discussion threads, and we'll set up more so you can introduce yourselves in advance, share tips. I think it's a great opportunity to meet people who are interested in these issues and to really collaborate and share information. So next I'm going to turn to Ellen Fern to talk about, she'll talk about what is effective advocacy. And if you just, Ellen, you still there with us?
Yes, I'm here. I can't see. The PowerPoint is not coming up on the application, but I've got another copy of PowerPoint, so I'm following along. So I think we're fine, but just tell me if I'm not making sense with what everyone else is seeing. But so I wanted to talk a little bit. Well, I should say, first of all, the firm that I work for, Washington Partners, we've been working with TESOL, oh gosh, John, like 8-9 years together, and we provide professional professional consulting services around government relations activities for TESOL. The firm I work for, Washington Partners, we're a small government relations firm here in DC, and we specialize in education policy. So we work with a variety of groups that represent teachers and social and emotional learning, after-school programs, science, technology, engineering, and literacy, a variety of topics related to education. And so when we talk about effective advocacy, and we're talking about educators, and when they're preparing to come to town, I always like to try and say it's analogous to what you're doing in the classroom. You're educating your students. You're educating them on issues and subjects that you think are critical for them to learn so they can make better decisions and achieve academically. Advocacy is really the same thing. You are coming to a group of students, i.e. your elected official or that member of Congress's staff, to educate them on important issues to you, issues that you are the expert on. And advocacy is just an organized action in support of your idea or cause, and your ideas for how to, in this case, improve educating your student whose first language is not English. And so you're educating folks that you're going to meet with on how to be an effective teacher of the English language. And really, advocacy, just like as you are in your classroom, you are really trying to establish an ongoing and trusting relationship, right? Your students want to know that you're going to be there the next time class is held. You're not coming and going. You're not going to pop in and teach one thing or say one thing and then never appear again. And really, advocacy is the same exact way. When you meet with elected officials and their staff, your goal really is to establish an ongoing relationship so they know that you are that go-to expert that they can call and email even when you go back home and they're still here in D.C. trying to write effective policy. Next slide. So the purpose of your visits that we'd like you to make on Capitol Hill, one with your congressman or congresswoman and at least one of your senators, your purpose is really to develop a relationship with this office, and that you become this go-to resource. So as legislation, whether it's related to adult learners or K through 12 learners or even teacher preparation, and there are major pieces of education legislation that the Congress is working on right now related to all those issues, and they have a question related to English learners, you are that go-to resource. They know that you are teaching and doing work in their district or their state, and that you have an expertise in this area, and they can pick up the phone and call you and ask you questions. You really are also going to the Hill to inform the staff and members you're going to meet with about the impact you're having with your students, some of the challenges you're seeing, and some of the successes that you're seeing as well, and also the additional successes you can have if additional resources can be focused on teaching English. You want to, the staff you're going to be meeting with, there is just not anyone as expert as you are on the issues of teaching English learners in a variety of settings. And they are here in Washington. They want to have an impact on policy, but they just can't know the details as well as you do. So really the purpose is to let them know about some of the challenges, key issues that you are facing, so they can make better decisions as they write better pieces, hopefully better pieces of legislation. So the next slide in terms of, okay, how do you schedule these visits? Obviously, as you know, we want you to schedule your visit with your congressional representative and at least one of your senators. And if you're feeling energized, feel free to make appointments with both senators, but we really would like you to meet with at least one, and on Tuesday, June 23rd. The way in which this happens is that you need to send a letter of request to the member of Congress via their scheduler. And John, so how are you going to provide a link so folks know how to find their congressional representative, and because and find out the name of the scheduler? One can call any member of Congress's office and you just ask for the name of the scheduler, but I'm not sure.
Yes, we just disseminated yesterday directions to everybody by email. Some information sheets that that walk through. There's a website called contactingthecongress.org, and you look up your zip. You can plug in your zip code. So we've supplied some very detailed directions. But if you have not received those, if you want to shoot me an email, my email address will be at the end of the presentation, and we can make sure to get you that information right away.
Okay, great. And so using that information, you'll be able to find the email address of your member of Congress's scheduler, and you're going to email a letter, right? And the way to do it is via email. Faxes are now getting lost in offices because they get so many faxes. Letters and never seem to get in the hands of the right person if you fax it, and certainly once the mail will take literally months because the mail still does not directly go into congressional offices. It goes off-site, and they inspect it and radiate it, and it's months before, quote, snail mail gets to congressional offices. So the best way is to email the scheduler asking for a request to meet with a member of Congress on Tuesday, June 23rd. If you get a response back that the member is not available, then you want to request a meeting with the Education Legislative Assistant. That is, legislative assistance is the staff title for staff who work for members of Congress, and you want to meet with the legislative assistant who handles education issues. If you do not receive an email back or some contact back from congressional office by Thursday, June 18th, you need to pick up the phone and make a follow-up call. The schedulers are inundated with requests such as yours, in addition to keeping the day-to-day schedule of the member of Congress as they're going back and forth between the district and D.C. and going to meetings and hearings, et cetera, et cetera. So schedulers really do have a tough job, and it's perfectly fine that if you don't receive any correspondence or back from the member of Congress's office, to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I sent this letter and I'm just following up. I'm going to be in town in 5 days. So that's why we're giving you this deadline of Thursday, June 18th, if you don't hear back from the scheduler, to pick up the phone. It's also important to note that meetings, once you set them, that's great, but don't be surprised if they will ask you for your contact information, because a member of Congress's schedule and staff are ever changing. So they might set up a meeting, for 11 o'clock on the 23rd, but they might have to change it at the last minute because a hearing comes up and the member has to go to the hearing, but he wants to meet with you, so they're going to ask to change the meeting. So if the scheduler doesn't ask for your contact information, give them your email so they can text you, or your cell phone so they can contact you if they need to make any changes. It's just a very common occurrence. On the next slide, slide 11, the other resources that John and I are going to provide to you are, and then we'll go over when you're here in town on the day before you go up to the Hill, but we will be providing you recommended talking point tips for how to have a successful meeting if you haven't done this before, and just a document on what to expect when you come to town and what the meeting will be like, and we'll give you suggestions on how to organize your meeting, etc. In addition, TESOL is going to give you what we call a leave behind folder for your meetings, because after you leave, you want to leave something so staff can remember you and remember what you've talked about, because they literally can have 10 to 12 meetings a day with different groups coming in. And so TESOL will be putting some information about TESOL and about TESOL in these folders as a leave behind, but we want to encourage you to bring information that you might want to put in these folders as well about your program, about what TESOL does in your state or locally, or just any way you want to personalize any personal information about your program or school or students you would like the member and staff to have once you leave. Please bring that, because you will put that in the leave behind folder as well. So very briefly, an overview of what to expect on the visit. If you're told that the member of Congress just, is too busy and can't meet with you, but your meeting will be with a staffer, it's very common for the member of Congress just to stop by and say hello, shake your hand, and then dash out to the meeting. So be prepared for that. Also, these congressional offices, especially in the House of Representatives are very, very, very small. There's a small reception area, and then basically one giant room where all the legislative assistants sit. So don't be surprised if a staff member says, "Hey, would you mind? We have to meet out in the hall." Certainly, none of these staff members have individual offices. They're not being rude. It's just really a matter of space. A lot of really important meetings take place in the hall or standing up. It's going to be a busy time and an exciting time when you're here in town. So it's just to say that to be ready to be flexible and sort of adaptable. Also, you should absolutely assume that the staff and member of Congress you're meeting with are not going to know anything, real details about what you do in the classroom and what kinds of students you teach. They probably are not going to understand the different kinds of language learners, from students who have been here a long time to students who have just arrived, to students who in their home country were very well educated, to those who were not, to the difference between adult learners, to immigrant learners, to young students if you teach in the K through 12 classroom. You just have to assume a very low knowledge base, but your challenge in 15 to 20 minutes is to bring folks up to speed or give them an overview about what goes on in your classroom and an overview of who you are teaching. You're going to talk about, we also would like you to talk about TESOL and about why you're here and part of, why you are part of the association. And in addition to telling them stories and details about individual students and families you're teaching, but it's also to talk about your challenges and some success. Staff are going to expect you to ask for something for this meeting. They expect that you want something. That's why you've traveled all this way and you want to make a specific quote ask. So that will be related back to the talking points that we are going to provide to you. And we also really, really, really want to encourage you to invite the staff and the member of Congress when they're back home to come and visit your program and meet the students and families you teach, or if you teach at the university level, to come visit you at the university or the community college where you're teaching others to become teachers of the English language. But they will think it's very strange if you don't have an ask at the end of the meeting, so folks should not feel shy about that. In terms of, the next slide, TESOL will be providing you Metro cards and maps from the hotel to Capitol Hill. We have a great Metro system, an easy Metro system to get right to the Hill and to your meetings. There is security that you are going to need to go through, like airports. So you want to give yourself enough time. You might have to take your shoes off just in case for some reason it beeps when you go through, but you want to be on time to these meetings and respect the staff and members of Congress time especially. So you need to leave enough time to remember that you are going to go through security when you go through these office buildings. And I think as I said a few moments ago, you want to plan your conversation, your meeting for about 15 to 20 minutes. They certainly can go longer, and they can be shorter. As I said, it's going to be a really busy time when you're here. That week in particular, Congress will be probably on the House debating appropriations spending for the coming fiscal year, and may specifically be what we call marking up the appropriations bill that funds the U.S. Department of Education and Labor. Also, there's a good possibility that the Senate will be starting its debate on the Senate floor of the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. So it's going to be very busy. Staff are going to be busy. So that's why we're saying expect your meeting to last 15 to 20 minutes. Other very practical hints, please wear business dress clothing, wear comfortable shoes. There are marble floors everywhere in these office buildings, and you're going to be walking a lot. So no, for the ladies, no stilettos, because you will be in a lot of pain by the end of the day. We want you to stay on message, and we'll go, as I said, we will go over these talking points when we're all together in DC on Monday the 22nd. Start thinking about stories of students, families that you're teaching to make it real and to make your job come alive. So if you can start thinking about students or that you want to tell in some sort of as part of your presentation, so to speak, about what you do in the classroom and who you're teaching, it's really good to start thinking about the stories now. We're going to urge you to stay on message and not wander. And feel free to bring business cards and, as I said earlier, information about your program. Put it in the leave behind folder.
And just to jump in here, a quick tip on the business cards. If you don't have any business cards, we've had people come and they sort of make them by doing a printout on paper and cutting up the paper to have just their contact information, or sometimes you can order really inexpensive business cards online. But it's a great way to make sure that whoever you meet with, they have your full contact information, and they can then follow up with you if they have any additional questions and information. But likewise, you should also ask for business cards for everyone you meet with, especially if you're going to meet with staffers. Their contact information isn't generally available online, so if you can collect their business cards, you'll then have their direct email address and phone number, so you can follow up with them after your meeting. So some tips for a successful meeting, and some of this we will again go over at the summit, but this is just to kind of warm you up for the event in a couple weeks. Some do's, certainly be polite and thank people for their time for meeting. As I've said before, you want to do your homework in advance, not only in terms of the issue and bringing information from your district, but know exactly who you will be meeting with, especially if you are able to schedule a meeting directly with a member of Congress or a senator. Having some of their background information will really help establish that connection. So spend some time learning a little bit about their background, where they come from. You'll find that it'll be very helpful with your meeting. As Ellen said, be respectful of their time, be on time, be prepared, and be flexible. And try to stay on message. The time for meeting will be short. Sometimes they run long, but you should plan on it being about 15 or 20 minutes. And especially if you go with a group, we will be helping to connect you from others from your state. And so you can go in groups, especially if you want to go with a group to your senator's office. You'll want to coordinate exactly how you're going to stay on message if you're going with more than one person. And we will have some time during the summit on Monday to sort of walk you through that. As Ellen said, staff are expecting a request. So in some of the talking points we will provide, we also have information about TESOL's positions on these issues, so you can certainly reiterate those. We would encourage you to do that, but also invite people to come visit your program in the home district. We have actually heard from a number of attendees over the years that members of Congress have followed up with them and it said, I would like to come visit your program. I really enjoyed your meeting. So please be sure to extend that invitation. Including a local story, what's happening in your district, as we said, and really use the opportunity to build a relationship with staff and becoming a resource. And the other points, as we've said, we'll have leave behind folders to give to you to leave at your meetings. Bring business cards, ask for business cards, and then be sure to follow up your meeting with a quick thank you by email for their time. And that will help them remember who you were, what you talked about, and it's a great way to help establish that relationship. Here we go. So of course, with some do's, we want to have some don'ts. Don't be late. Really try to impress upon that to be on time, because these meetings are short. If you find that you have, for example, your first meeting of the day is going great and it's actually running longer than anticipated, and you may be late for your second meeting, call ahead to the office, especially if you're talking with, a representative from your district and you're meeting another representative from your district. Sometimes you can ask for assistance from one office to have them call ahead to the next office. So do try to, be as on time for every single one of your meetings. Um, as Ellen said, the members of Congress are very busy. Depending upon what's happening that day, they may not have any availability for appointments with their constituents. If that happens, please don't show disappointment that you're not meeting with the member of Congress directly. Their staffers, their education staffers are really the ones who are there. It's their job to be knowledgeable of all these issues and to really inform their bosses on what's been happening around these issues, what's been happening in their district, and how it impacts their constituents. So meeting with the staffer is just as good as meeting with the member of Congress, if not sometimes better, because you're talking to someone whose job is to really be knowledgeable about these issues. As Ellen said, I don't go in with the assumption that members of the staffers you meet with have a background on ESL or understand the issues around English learners. Uh, they they might have some information about, they might know what some education policy is around English learners, but they're not really going to know what that's going to look like in the classroom. It's one thing to know a certain aspect of education policy about, testing for English learners, but what does that look like in real life? And that's where you come in, because you can provide that picture. You know what it looks like firsthand. So making that assumption about no level of knowledge will really help in setting the context for your meeting. One thing it's really critical is you certainly want to present yourself as an expert. You have all the expertise on these issues and policies, but don't make up answers. If you don't know the answer to something, that's okay. Just say, I'm not sure of that particular question. I'm not sure the answer to that. Let me look up the information when I get back to my district and follow up with you. I certainly have said that plenty of times. I'm sure Ellen has said that plenty of times. That's okay, because you want to really establish trust and know you want to be able to provide the right information. It's important to stay on message, so try not to get off message or get caught on a tangent. Don't forget to leave behind the information we're going to give you, or collect the business cards, and please don't forget to follow up with a thank you letter by email. So we are just about at the end of the prepared slides, but I know there's a number of people on the phone who've dialed in who have come to the Advocacy Summit before. So what I'd like to do, certainly open it up for questions, but if those people who've met with members of Congress or had this experience, if they'd like to share any tips, they certainly can do that as well. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to move ahead to our final slide, but we do have some time for questions. We do have some time to share tips, so I'll just sort of open the floor now virtually. And you can either ask directly if you're on a microphone or phone, or you can type in the chat box if you're in front of a computer. Okay. I see Kathy has typed in a question. If we were to schedule appointments soon, when will we know if we're going to Congress as a group with others from our area? Want to avoid multiple people trying to schedule the same meeting. That's a very good point. We will be getting that information out to you early next week. I definitely encourage everyone to start with their individual representative. At the moment, we have about 80 people attending. I do not believe people are necessarily in the same district, but as we've covered, it's going to take a little bit of back and forth to confirm the meeting. So if you start with your individual representative from your individual congressional district, there's probably the least amount of likelihood there'll be some doubling up on those meetings. But we will be connecting everyone starting early next week. But by email, we will connect you with each other's email address and name, and then you can follow up individually with your own communication. So for those who've come to this in the past, who've worked with groups, if you have any tips you'd like to share about how you've coordinated your meetings?
This is Ellen. I just wanted to chime in. For those of you who haven't done this before, I forgot to say, and I do want to say that these meetings are very fun. They're informative. While everyone you meet might not agree with you 100%, you will find that the staff you meet with, who are going to be very, very young, but they're very bright. They're very excited to be in D.C. working on public policy. And as I said, while we all might not agree on issues and how to approach issues, everyone is looking for a better way for their constituents to be served. So I just want to say it is fun. It's really fun to be part of our democratic process. Not to sound so corny, but it is true. And as I said, there'll be a lot going on, so you'll be able to feel the energy on Capitol Hill. While before going to Capitol Hill, the day and a half before, you're going to be hearing from great speakers from various parts of our federal government, and it's just so I hope you're all really looking forward to coming to town.
Okay, I haven't seen any other questions pop up in the chat. But if anyone is all the audio lines should be open. So if anybody has a question or comment they'd like to share, please feel free to do so. And we'll probably stay on for just another few minutes if anybody has any additional questions. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. I'm not seeing anything pop up in the chat box. So I think with that, we'll just go ahead and conclude the webinar for today. We don't need to keep you on longer than is necessary. But thank you all for joining us today. As I mentioned, if you were only joining us on the phone, what I'll be doing is sending a copy of the slides out by email immediately following the webinar. And we will post a link to a recording of the webinar online in the TESOL community. I understand some people may have had some difficulty with the slides at the beginning, so I apologize for that. So we'll make sure everyone has a copy of it. And if you have any questions leading up to the summit, please do not hesitate to contact myself or my colleague Sydney Black. We will be following up, as I said, early next week with the contact information for those coming from your state and coordinate your meetings. And we will also be providing next week the background briefs and some of the issues we'll be discussing during the summit. And I do see a quick comment from Jeanette, who is really looking forward to the summit. Well, Jeanette, we're very excited to have you, and look forward to seeing you soon in DC. And we hope you'll have a great time. And we're glad to welcome back Judy O'Loughlin. Judy's an experienced TESOL advocate, so I know she'll have a lot of great expertise to share with everybody in DC in just a few weeks. So with that, we will go ahead and conclude the webinar. Thanks again for your time. Look for the slides shortly, and we'll have the link to the recording as well. And we'll follow up with each other on email. And we'll see you soon here in DC. Take care, everybody, and I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you.